seated. Today's the feast of Saint Shmuni and her 7 sons. Has anybody heard of this feast day before? All right. You've heard of it. Nice. Do you know where it comes from? Where do we read this story?
I'm not sure. I know it's in the Old Testament.
It is in the Old Testament, yeah. It's a biblical story.
Is it? I don't think it's Genesis.
It's not Genesis. It's actually opposite end of the Old Testament. It's Maccabees. It's Maccabees, and it's very late in Old Testament history. It's actually leading right up to the Incarnation. So we get another history lesson today. Israel was under occupation, and the king was Antiochus IV, and he started persecuting the Israelites. Really what he was trying to do was snuff out the Jewish religion, right? And so there was a religious persecution going on, and while this is happening, these 8 people, Shmuni and her 7 sons, are arrested because they refused to break the Jewish dietary laws, the laws of kosher. Okay, they were being told eat pork or whatever it was, and they refused to do that. Which is why the reading that we had today has to do with diet. Right? There was a discussion in the early church about: are we still going to keep kosher? Are we not going to keep kosher? Can we eat food sacrificed to idols? Should we not do it? And St. Paul's giving some instruction on that. That's the connection there. But so they get arrested, and the authorities start to martyr the kids. Okay, Shmuni is the mother. All of her 7 sons together, they're arrested, and they start to say, "Renounce your faith. If you don't, we're going to kill you." And none of them renounce their faith. None of the martyrs renounce their faith. But what's amazing, I think, is the mother shows the most courage, because she's standing there watching her children get martyred, which is maybe the hardest thing a mother can see. But what is she telling them as they're being martyred? She's encouraging them. She's saying, don't renounce your faith. I encourage you to endure whatever punishment or suffering they're going to inflict on you, even if it leads you to death, and be proud of that, rather than renounce your faith in the living God. I know mothers who can't stand this story, because it's hard. It's hard for a mother to watch her children die. But her perspective was that a greater evil was falling on her children if they renounce their faith than if they die. And it touches a lot on what love is exactly. We need to have a proper perspective on the human person and the purpose of human life in order to understand what love is. And the critical mistake that a lot of people might make is they think that our life is precious, absolutely. And so what my main goal should be in my life is to preserve it at all costs. Protect and preserve my life. And I don't want to say that self-preservation is not important, right? Our goal in life is not to suffer. Our goal is not to throw ourselves heedlessly into dangers and things. We have a natural instinct that God gave us of self-preservation. When we put our hand on the hot stove, we pull it back because it's hot, and we want to protect ourselves from that. Absolutely, right? But our goal in life is not to preserve ourselves. Our goal in life is to spend our life. To spend our life in love. And that's what Jesus is trying to tell us in this gospel. If your goal is to preserve your life, you're actually not using it properly. If you're protecting yourself at all costs from every danger so that you don't have to get hurt, but you're also not loving anyone, you're not using your life properly. In fact, you're losing your life. Has anybody heard of the biohackers? I know Rita has, yeah. Rita's the one who introduced me to the biohackers. Who are the biohackers? Fill us in. We had 2 hands, Majd, right?
They're people who try to prolong their lives by doing these tests and these experiments on their bodies, and like they have these crazy routines that they go through just to try to live longer.
Yeah, it's pretty wild actually. Their entire goal in life is to live as long as they possibly can, right? And some of the things they do, it's not just eating healthy food and exercising, right? It's like these people have pressure chambers in their homes that they've spent tons of money on that are supposed to help their cells absorb oxygen better, I think was the idea behind it. So they wake up in the morning, they do their routines, they go into these pressure chambers, and then they come out and they have all these different, really strange things that they do, trying to preserve their life, to live as long as possible. One of them... Lengthen their chromatids.
To make sure, like, the goal is kind of to not die.
I don't even know what that means, but that's exactly right. Their goal is ultimately to not die, okay? And it's a couple, right? And the wife is more explicit about this than the husband is. I'm not really sure he's convinced, but she has said this in interviews, that my hope is that I can extend my life long enough, I can actually reverse the aging process faster than the aging process is happening, so that I will ultimately live forever. So that I will not die. Okay. Now I want to point this out too. They're also Christian, right? They're intentionally Christian. They believe in the scriptures, and they really do try to follow the practices of Jesus. I think this particular point though, they kind of missed, and at some point, the philosophy of their transhumanism is going to clash with the philosophy of Jesus Christ, and I pray for them that it's the Christian faith that's going to win out in the end. But what is the problem with the way that they're living? The problem is their entire focus is on preserving their life. Their life, their health regimen is so strict. They really don't have time to like develop relationships and bonds and things. And, you know, again, out of their Christian belief, they say, yeah, we're going to have children because we believe that's a very Christian thing to do. And, you know, they're popular on social media. They get laughed at a lot in the comment section saying, there's no way you're going to be able to live this strict regimen that you have and have children at the same time, right? What if the baby cries while you're during your time that you're supposed to go through the pressure chamber or whatever, right? So it's really like restricting their ability to love. And the funny thing about living forever, I think we ask this question a lot. If you had the chance to live forever, you rub a magic lamp, a genie comes out, and he says, you know, you have the option to never die. Do you take that up? And I feel like a lot of people end up saying no, but there's an aspect to this question that doesn't come up very much. Something happens when you choose to live this life forever. You lose much of your ability to love. You lose much of your ability to love. Why is that? Doesn't seem like it's related. The reason is because, well, there's a few reasons, but primarily, one of the most valuable things that you give to someone else is your time. Now, why is your time so valuable? It's because it's scarce. It's limited. You don't have unlimited time. And so if you give someone your time, you're giving them a portion of your life that you can never get back. That's love. But that's only true if you're not going to never die, right? If you're never going to die, time isn't scarce anymore. I've got all the time in the world, literally. And so my time that I give you is not quite as valuable because it doesn't have myself in it. And that's kind of the key here, isn't it? What is love? Love is not when I give you something that I have. Love is when I give you myself. That's what love is. So we have a kind of a negative example here with the biohackers. If I was to use an analogy of what love is, I would say love is like chalk. You guys remember when you were kids and you played with chalk? I remember summers where we just completely covered the street with chalk. I think chalk is a great example of sacrificial love. Because when you draw with chalk, what are you doing? You're taking this chalk and you're scraping it against the ground and you're making this picture, but what is the picture made out of? It's actually made out of pieces of the chalk. The chalk is giving itself, it's wearing itself down in order to produce this beautiful picture that you're drawing on the sidewalk. And at some point, you run out of the chalk. You completely use it up. It completely gives itself in the picture that you have put on the street. That's what love is, right? The chalk doesn't hire someone to make a painting on the sidewalk for you. The chalk gives its very self into its purpose, into making this painting. So we're called to be like chalk, right? We're called to give ourselves in our relationships, especially in our relationship with Christ. So I have a hobby. I like to shoot. This has been a hobby of mine since I was a kid. And it was one of the ways that I bonded a lot with my father was we have shotguns, we would shoot trap and skeet. So like there's a machine that throws plates into the air and you have to shoot them before they hit the ground, right? It's obviously gun safety is really important. I always like to mention that, but we had a really good time. It was like a way that we bonded with one another. And I've often thought about this because when you shoot a lot, the guns are very loud and it can actually hurt your hearing. So we wear a lot of ear protection and stuff, but I've still kind of come to realize that when I'm older someday, I might not be able to hear as well. I might need to get hearing aids earlier than most people, possibly. I'm trying to protect my hearing, but I've asked myself, is this worth it? Is it worth it to spend my hearing for the sake of this hobby? And the answer that I gave was definitely yes, because it's not just a hobby. I'm building relationships with it, right? I'm spending my time and using my body out of love to spend this time with my father and with other people, with friends that I go shooting with. Like there's a bond that happens here. So I could, on the one hand, say, I'm going to protect my body at all costs. But then I lose the relationship. I lose the bond. So shooting is kind of a dramatic example. It's one that's close to me because it's my hobby. But everything that we do spends a little bit of ourselves, spends a little bit of our body. And our goal is to spend our lives in love. To use our lives for the sake of building those relationships, and above all, for loving Jesus Christ. What am I doing right now? Right? I'm using my time, and I'm using it with the Lord. I'm offering a liturgy with Him. I'm spending my time with you. You're spending your time with me and with Jesus Christ. That's love. That's love. Remember, though, that love is not just something that I give you. Love is the gift of self. It's so important, especially in family life, right? Parents make this mistake all the time where they think what they're supposed to give their children is stuff, right? You've heard this story of like the father working really hard, climbing the corporate ladder, giving his family all of this money and this big beautiful home and this beautiful car, and then not spending any time with the children. And the children are like, the money is cool, the drinks are cool, the cars are cool, all of that's cool, but none of it would be as valuable as the time that you could spend with me. The most important thing that parents give to their children is not stuff, it's themselves. Because above all, children want to be loved. The most important thing that spouses give to one another is not a diamond ring. It's themselves. The most important thing that we can give to our Lord is ourselves. It doesn't mean we can't give gifts to each other. That doesn't mean that a gift, a thing, can't also be a gift of self. And one way I like to explain this is when I was a kid and I got invited to a birthday party, I didn't have a job and I didn't have money. So can't walk in empty-handed. My mom would buy a gift for me and say, give this gift to your friend. Right? Has anybody been here before? Give this gift to your friend. Okay. Right? I got a little bit older. I got a little bit of my own money. And there was one time when I got invited to a birthday, and my mom said, hey, I'm going to go buy you a gift for your friend. And I told her, no, don't do that. Because I'm old enough now, I want this gift to be from me. Why? Because it's not about the gift. It's about giving myself. I'm the one who loves my friend. And so I want to give a piece of myself to my friend. I want to spend money that I've made to get an item that I can give to this person. But do you see the difference? In both instances, I'm giving a gift to my friend. But when my mom bought the gift, there was no gift of self in that. When I got older, I could now use this gift as a way of giving myself. Right? So that's what love really is. Love is the gift of self. And it starts not with what we've done, but with what Jesus Christ gives to us. This is why we talk about love as a theological virtue. It's not something that I do for my own power. It's something that I have to receive first so that I can give that love to other people. And where do I get love? Where do I get the ability to be Jesus Christ to someone else? It starts with the fact that Jesus gave himself to me. That Jesus loved me first. This is the primary reason why the Eucharist can't just be a symbol. If Jesus symbolically gave himself to me, then I only have to symbolically love him back. It's kind of like the gift that I gave to my friend when I was a child that was actually bought by my mom. Jesus didn't symbolically give himself to you. He said, this is my body given for you. He actually did it. He's actually going to do it right now. He's going to love you not with some cool thing that he gives you. He's going to love you with himself. And when you are loved by Jesus Christ, you now have the ability to go out into the world and to do the same thing. To give others yourself and to give others the Jesus Christ that is living inside of you. That's what it means to love as a Christian. To love as another Christ. Does that make sense? So remember this principle. Jesus mentions it in the gospel. It sounds like a confusing gospel. Sounds like a paradox, right? Right? If I preserve my life, I lose it. And if I lose my life, I gain it? Yes. Because your life is not meant to be preserved. Your life is meant to be spent in love. And when we live our life in love, that's when we're truly living. And when we just try to preserve ourselves at all costs, we're not really living. We're not living our life the way that it was meant to be lived. And so let us live our lives in love. Amen?
Amen.